What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and as some of you guys know, I am currently working on the Nightbass, aka UK Bassline Soundset, and someone corrected me on that, so I finally know what the genre is. But today, guys, you know, as I've been making this is a new genre for me to make sounds for. I've been learning a lot of stuff, and today I wanted to make a video on that. Now, if you guys have any tutorial suggestions on this genre of stuff you would like to learn, have me kind of challenge me to kind of go after it, make sure to leave it down in the comments below. It can be about anything that you think, like maybe like what kind of scales, notes they hit, rhythms, and vice versa. And as always, guys, if you want to support my YouTube channel, you can head over to evilsounds.com. I am currently having a Black Friday Cyber Monday sale for 40% off. I believe today is the last day, so make sure to check it out. And as always, thank you guys for the support, and let's get straight into this video. The shape of your LFO really matters in this genre. Now, the shape, guys, is going to affect a couple of things when you're working on this genre and you're trying to go for Chris Lorenzo style of kind of style of sounds, or you're trying to go more for attack-based ones or very fast ones and whatnot. The shape really matters, and I'll show you why. First off, if we go with a shape that's pretty similar to what I did in the beginning and what most people do, because the sounds definitely sound like wah, 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 depending on the song you listen to, you definitely get a different response from the sound you've created. So, for instance, okay, now if you're trying to go for like something that goes very fast, this is not going to cut it. It sounds very weak. Now, what you need to do is the shape. So when you're making these sounds, you really got to think on how you're going to be playing your sound. So you're going to be essentially playing really fast, like bum, 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 or bum, 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 bum. You know, it really depends. Because now, if we go with this, we can also move it a little bit more back. And you can see the response you get when you play really fast note sounds a little better than if we were to go with, you know, that just sounds a little bit like you're kind of stopping someone midway of their speech when we should be letting them do their thing. So that's the first thing. Now, there's definitely UK bassline songs out there where essentially we have something, you know, sounds like that, which is totally fine. But again, remember, it's all about the shape. You can definitely alter the sound completely with the shape that you decide to use. In your song, we could go with, and you can tell me that doesn't sound super cool as well. So it's all in the shape, guys. And there are some sound banks out there, and like especially from Cymatics, where they have a lot of LFO shapes. Or if you find one that you like in a song, make sure you kind of just go and save the shape into a user folder that you call WUB folder. That way you can go through them to see which one fits your sound best or which one you like more. Not all sounds are made with a fem, and that's something that I kind of went into going, oh, all these sounds are going to be made with a fem, and they're not. You can definitely create a lot of different sounds, guys, and this tip just comes because we're going to do something here called wave shaping. Now, wave shaping usually has to deal with utilizing a sine wave, something with a simple tone, and distorting it heavily to essentially wave shape it. Now, if we go in with a saw and then add that maybe at 4 and then put a +7, we're going to get something like that, which sounds like, you know, your wife screaming at you. So now from here, we can use a filter at the end to kind of create. Let's put a bit of reverb. And we can also make this 11. And you can see when I get rid of the sine, you don't really get that top end without. This sounds a lot dirtier. So here you're combining a sine and a saw and wave shaping it to get that sound. Now you can bring in oscillator, the sub oscillator into the action. You know, it shouldn't be lonely. Now you can also turn down the RM phase and start to mess with the phase. You can see you get different responses where you decide to go. You can also go higher. We can go in with a. If you find your sound likes mid-lows, you can always come in with a triangle at 1 octave. You can also kind of do a bit of detunement to this. kind of get these kind of sounds, which I heard in a couple of songs. You know, and you can kind of see you get really interesting sounds utilizing this. So you don't have to go with FM. However, you can also combine this with FM if you want. Like you could definitely say, oh, you know what? I want to put a bit of FM on this guy here. To kind of go with it, but just know that FM is not everything in this genre. You can definitely do a bit of wave shaping, and again, it's not just with the saw, square, and all that. You can also go with different wave tables, different, essentially like spectral and all that. But majority of the time, this works best when your wave tables aren't super busy, and it's more of the analog based ones. But definitely give this a try, guys, because you can even go with just normal sines. It's like 3 sines and create something very interesting for your song. And then make it interesting utilizing other things like maybe a delay if you want it to sound wide, which sounds a little better than going in with the detunement here. Utilizing crazy filters will work for certain type of sounds that you're going for. I find this one works a little better for essentially taking new light weird sounding sounds that sound like they were mixed weird. And also more of the UK bassline, which tends to be a little bit more aggressive. And the reason for that is that if you're going to notice the comb, all passes, and reverb filter, which are the crazy filters I'm talking about, you can find a little bit more in the flanges as well, are going to essentially create something that sounds like someone put delay and set it really with a high feedback. But that gives a tone that sounds a little metallic, different texture, washed. But it's a very popular tone. If we hear that with this sound, which we created in the last tip, and we add a comb, you can kind of see the response that we get. It's a very kind of washed response, but it also has that interesting texture which certain towns tend to have. Now, as you move the comb down, you get more of a washed vibe, and the more up you go, you start to get different tones. It definitely changes the vibe of the sound. Okay, we can also essentially move the cutoff on these guys, but I don't really recommend it. Usually, a lot of times, you just get more experimental sounds, which don't have a tone, as you can see there. So you gotta be really careful in doing that. You can definitely add a modulation, which is very short, to kind of get something like so. But try and keep it cool. Now, the other thing you can also do is use these filters in the first filter section, which has a key track feature, which tries to keep the sound from sounding washed. And I actually like this one a little bit more. So if we get rid of this, the filter move to the, let's say, the right cutoff for that one note you are hitting. This next tip is more for the beginner to intermediate sound designer, which essentially is FMing sounds and just utilizing different pitch ratios in terms of the octaves. Now, FM here, Harmonics, is going to come into play when essentially we FM, let's say, 2 saws together. Now, one saw will go up 2 octaves. Now, there are 3 places, or you could say 4, that I feel like you can put the SEM at. The first one is at +3 if you're in a minor track, which is going to give you a sound like that. Let's put it here. Which is going to give you more of a minor kind of vibe, tech chord vibe. We can also go to +7. Which is going to give you more of that kind of vibe. And we can also hit +11, which is the 4th note in the chord to complete, like, let's say, a minor chord if you wanted to have it. And they're all going to give you kind of like a different vibe. I find the +3 always seems like there's something wrong with the sound, but it creates a very eerie vibe. +7 is just going to be the Chris Lorenzo, more of the more common one you tend to hear. And +11 is one you hear a little bit more in the more aggressive style of bass, UK bass. But again, those three is good. If you've already been doing the octave thing, also mess around with the stems. You can definitely get some interesting stuff. +7, +3, +11. And if you want to go in between, that's cool too. The only problem I find with that, a lot of times it can get the sound out of key and you might find it sounds weird, but just kind of fret. And again, this is good. When you're doing FM, try and go with harmonics like +3, +7, +11, or +4, which is more of a major, +7, and +11. Tip I have for you guys is one that I currently learned. And this is usually useful when you're doing heavy amounts of distortion, or when you just feel like your dynamics in your track or your sound are lost because you decided to go with heavy distortion, which sounds like that. Okay, I know it sounds a little bad, but let's assume we have that. I don't know, for some reason. Now, utilizing the filter inside of Serum here, the one in the effects section after everything, so the signal flow at the end, can help bring those dynamics back into play. Because now if we have it the same, you kind of lose it due to the distortion, but now you can get it back. Notice how without distortion you have those dynamics in play, but distortion also acts sort of as a compressor in the sense that it makes lower sound louder, and it also has a sort of a compressing effect. So if you want to bring back your dynamics in the sound, utilize a filter at the end of the chain. Again, you can have the reverb and the delay in front of that, of course. If you can have delay here if you're using as a Haas, but if you're using that here, you can also do like the Haas here if you wanted to. Now, the other thing too is you can also OTT the sound now and avoid that nasty ass sound that we get. This sort of like acts as a preventive measure. Like, it just saves the sound if it's too overprocessed and it sounds like someone compressed the crap out of it. Just due to the fact, again, you're kind of bringing in those dynamics back in with this last filter in that chain of when you're creating your sound. Now, those are going to be my 5 tips, guys. I hope that you found them useful, and I hope that they help you if you're making sounds for this type of genre. A lot of these tips can also be used in other stuff, like if you're making techno and you're making like essentially techno stabs. This all comes into play as well, utilizing FM harmonics, wave shaping. You're just going to set it up in a different environment. But at the end of the day, guys, I hope you guys have fun sound designing these kind of sounds. I know I am. A little bit of a love and hate relationship, but this pack that I'm working on should be out soon. Currently have these amount of sounds that I've been working on, and some of those tips that I showed you guys today are in those sounds. But again, hope you found it useful. Cyber Monday sale is still going on today, guys. Today's the last day, and I'll catch you guys next time. You take care, and you have a good night.